Welcome to the show. My name is Charlton with Big C. This is Charlton and Big C Sports coming to you worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network, the number one network in the United States of America. And Big C Sports has been voted the number one sports show in the universe, according to Big C and his good old boys down south. In fact, Lady Gaga had to open the dome last night, Big C, so she can follow Big C Sports. I also want to say bienvenidos to all of our listeners in Latin America. Thank you so much for following Big C Sports, and of course across the pond in London, England, as well as Paris, France, and there's a lot of my good old boys up in Canada. I know you got the CFL going on, but we also love the NFL Super Bowl as well. But Big C, there's no one I love more than the land of the free and the home of the brave. How you good old boys doing down south, Big C?
Well, we're doing okay. Stephanie, she had to open up the dome last night to let the universe in, so watch the show and everything. But it was a we were crying so much that it felt like it was raining all over the world. Another day, I don't know if the birds were able to fly. I think they had to take a bus home because bird with one wing can't fly.
That's always true, Big C, always true. And I tell you, today is a beautiful day. It is February the 6th, 2017, Black History Month, and I do want to thank Fox Sports because I'd never seen it before, and I've been watching the Super Bowl ever since I was a little boy, Big C, but I've never seen them honor Black History Month, obviously, for the Super Bowl when about 75% of the athletes are of African-American descent. And I just congratulate Fox for being socially conscious in a world where oftentimes only the Anglo history gets acknowledged in schools, but there's so much culture in our country, and Lady Gaga touched on that. Wasn't too political, but we celebrate land of the free, home of the brave, with liberty and justice for all, and I thought that was very poignantly mentioned the way she talked about it. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, Charlton, when you look at the presentations of the former players from the historical black colleges, that was very poignant about the NFL and Fox to show the history of what African-American universities have meant to the history of the NFL and its development. When you look at those players, most of those players were stars in the Super Bowls, Charlton.
Yeah.
They led their teams to victories. Not only that, Hall of Famers. That they are part of the rich fabric of the NFL that goes unnoticed, many times, because of, the pilfering of the...
Just all the talk that goes on, Big C. It's like what you're saying. Sometimes we think about how do we actually get people acknowledged, Big C? And Fox last night and Roger Goodell, you're saying they did a good job of that, Big C?
They did a good job, Charlton, bringing these players into the forefront, back into America's, foresight, and letting people reminisce about the great play that they provided over the decades in the NFL, the memorable moments, the great catches, the big hits, the great blocks.
Yeah.
The things that they've been able to accomplish, the touchdown passes, Charlton, those things should not be forgotten in folklore in NFL. We all live in the present. We remember the good games from today and yesterday.
Yeah.
But those great plays from years back, those players set records in Super Bowls.
Yeah.
When you think about it, a lot of number one draft picks up there, Charlton, come from small towns, small colleges, but they were impactful in the fabric of the NFL's history, and they will always be there. And that's one of the things you can't afford to forget, is that the NFL is what it is now because of the integration of African-American athletes to make this a better game and as it goes on, throughout the future, Charles.
Well, Big C, I appreciate that. I also want to say this segment is sponsored by your Northern California Cadillac dealers, home of the all-new Cadillac Escalade, the standard of the world. And when you go by and test drive one, tell them that Charlton and Big C sent you. And Big C, yours is the one we know that's muddy, but it might be raining on right now, Big C. I mean, Lady Gaga, can she open the sunroof? Do you have the Escalade with the sunroof so Lady Gaga can do her performance, Big C, for the national anthem, Big C?
Oh, yeah, she can sit on the roof and everything inside, Charlton, and she can live on the back. She can sit any place she wanted. She can ride all the way anything.
That's funny. I tell you, I love the way she performs. I think she's from New Jersey, and the way she performs, she kind of has that New Jersey swag, Big C, and the way that she performed. And this is important to me because, everybody has in mind, preservation of life and survival of the fittest. But when I see someone that's in an environment where she could be, lily white, if that makes sense, her whole crew was diverse. It was like the United Nations was on stage performing behind her. Unlike the White House and Donald Trump's administration, I just think that we have a world where the young people, they get it. They get it, Big C. We're not trying to start another war. We're not trying to go off and steal somebody's oil. We're trying to make sure that we bring people together. And that to me is what sports is all about. It's bigger than the game, Big C, because it goes on forever, the same way the Fox finally acknowledged African American History Month by paying homage to some of these great African Americans that were, for the most part, they were never accepted fully by Madison Avenue. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, they never got the background, exploitation fund advertising that the players today get, Jonathan.
Yeah.
They were looked at as athletes on the field and couldn't push any products. Never given the chance back in those days, Jonathan, of the early NFL age.
Go ahead, Big C, go ahead. I think you got a little weather going on, Big C, but yeah, just like you were saying, the opportunity for many of these African Americans when they look at how they're going to get their opportunity in business. And the world of broadcast is always about business, how you're going to get business, and who can really make a dollar after the playing days are over. Now, one of the things that brings to mind is very touching to me is when I was looking last night, at the celebration of these NFL athletes, Big C, a lot of them, they were never Madison Avenue material. Now, I know Tom Brady had a great game, and Julio Jones had a great game, and Matty Ryan had a great game until the fourth quarter, Big C. But these African-American athletes, Hall of Famers, they couldn't get what you and I talk about all the time, and that's money. They couldn't get money. I saw guys like Mel Blount, who's a great player for the Pittsburgh Steelers back in the day, and some of the old-timers, of course, Michael Strahan, he's been able to commercialize himself because he's on Fox Sports. He's also spent some time on network television, but there's a plethora of guys that never got the Chunky Soup commercial, they never got the Gatorade commercial, and they never got the Cadillac Escalade commercial. So your thoughts again on why it's so important to touch on the economics after the game is over and after the crowd stops cheering. Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, Charles, I was looking at Elvin Bessette. I was looking at Claude Humphrey. I was looking at Willie Brown. Some of those lineage players from years gone as Emmett Thomas.
Yeah.
These players who were trailblazers, who played in all the Super Bowls that have come along, Jonathan, who never got an opportunity from Madison Avenue because of the racial culture in America at that time.
Yeah.
Not feeling that these players could sell a product. But, athletes have always had that magnetism, Jonathan, that everyone gravitates to.
Yeah.
Everybody, if you cheered for them on the field, then you would want to utilize what they were pushing as a product. So, African Americans just weren't given opportunity because of how society was, not wanting to show them equal to the other part of the sports ledger. But, they would always play well on the field, but
Yeah.
didn't want them representing a product, which was wrong.
Yeah.
It was America at the time, but, we've had so many crossover athletes, Charlton, in recent years that have been able to push any product, that have recognized in mainstream that they are real people, that they are a real product endorser. And so it has opened the door for many of the modern athletes, Charlton,
Yeah.
to be able to go out there and do that and expand their financial horizon.
Yeah, and we'll touch more on the game as we get to the second half of the program. Obviously, it was just a great Super Bowl, depending on what side you were sitting on. But something else that brought to my mind, Big C, is the fact that we always believe that if you just tell the facts, like Walter Cronkite back in the day, his whole thing was just the facts, and he didn't really care what someone thought about embellishing the facts. Just tell me the facts. And what makes America great is that we can talk about what's real and not alternative facts. Now, as much as I appreciate what Tom Brady did as an athlete, I think if he just had a little bit of Muhammad Ali's consciousness, could you imagine what effect he could have on the planet Earth if, as a Caucasian man that has been given every benefit that white America can give a white man in this society, they made him wealthy, he's a great athlete, they've called him America's prodigal child, and they've given him the pulpit to speak. And that's what I think is a shame about sometimes when you have the pulpit and you have the chance to speak and you have the chance to say, what's important to you. Not saying that Tom Brady has to, not saying that guys like Muhammad Ali had to, not saying that guys like Sugar Ray Leonard had to, or lately when we looked at LeBron James or Carmelo Anthony or Dwayne Wade, not saying they had to, not even saying that guys like Chris Rock at the Oscars had to. None of these guys, none of them had to come out and make any social stance, Big C. They could have sat back and they could have been quiet. They could have been whatever their sponsors tell them to be. They could have been like the guy that just goes out and collects a paycheck, and who cares of what happens, to the next generation or the younger people in our society. They didn't have to say anything. So the one thing about, Tom Brady having a great game and being the Super Bowl champion, and I think white America's praising him as a great quarterback and how great he played in the football game. But just imagine if that were Muhammad Ali. It doesn't matter what color, but imagine if that were Muhammad Ali, and I'll say it again, he's someone that they've given everything to. They put him on the pedestal. A lot of these old-timers, these African-Americans that were inducted into the Hall of Fame, they understand what it's like, what Tom Brady has, because they've never gotten it. They've never gotten the commercial endorsements. They've never gotten the favoritism. So what if Tom Brady had a Muhammad Ali consciousness just to talk about fairness and equality and inclusion? It's a shame it took Lady Gaga to talk about in her song. It's a perfect time for him to say no hate, no bigotry, no discrimination. That's not controversial. Why won't he take this shining moment to be Muhammad Ali if it's just 5 minutes, Big C?
Well, we're talking to everybody is not equipped mentally and socially to do things like that. If you follow Tom Brady last night up on the victory podium, you'll see where he walked off the podium while the commissioner was there.
Yeah.
And last year, if you remember what Cam Newton did, he got lambasted.
I was just going to say that.
For walking away.
I was just going to say that.
Some harsh, inappropriate questions. Tom Brady walked off the podium while the commissioner then had to present the trophy, not wanting to have to interact with the commissioner. And no one said that he was selfish, childish, or anything about his actions. All they did was praise him. But when you look at that, that's that double standard that's presented, Charles, amongst athletes. And Tom Brady got a pass because of what he did last night. And that's socially and racially wrong. It's basically what the media presents in that situation. Tom Brady gets a pass, regardless of any negativity that he may exude. An African-American quarterback does that. He's ridden for an entire month in the media. And they were even still talking about Colin Kaepernick during that game. Colin Kaepernick has been over a long time. But they're laying on Colin Kaepernick because of the social stance that he made. And the problem that the media has with Colin Kaepernick, Jonathan, that everything that he said was right is what the president is doing now that's wrong.
Yeah.
And so you don't want to praise Colin Kaepernick and blast the president, so you're still trying to roll Colin Kaepernick under the bus. And the president is the biggest racist bigot that we've ever seen.
Yeah, and see, that is so powerful. That's why, when I grew up around some guys that called themselves Bloods and Crips. They were just misguided knuckleheads. I also grew up around some guys who were part of this Aryan Nation. They call themselves whatever, but they were knuckleheads too. They were black and white. But the crazy thing is when we played sports together, there was always some tension for about maybe the first week. But after a while, when you go, I'm going to use a stupid term, but when you go to war with your teammates or when you go to play the game, you go to battle with your teammates, all of that garbage goes away. There were guys who were black and white from a Blood and Crip background or an Aryan Nation good old boy background, and they sat down and broke bread with each other and became friends. Not just teammates, but friends, because after a while you realize that whoever fed you that hatred garbage, they're just wrong. And that's why I think instead of people praising Tom Brady as a great quarterback, can they say he's great when it comes to being a humanitarian? That's what the great Harry Edwards talks about, and that's what, the great Muhammad Ali talked about. That's more important. Muhammad Ali was a great fighter. He always said, I'm the greatest, but he did so many things to help people. And in fact, does that make any sense, or am I just too naive? Is this a great time for him to throw another touchdown pass and have a speech to the world, since they're putting this white guy on the pedestal anyway, Big C?
Well, we're talking, you're asking the wrong things of the wrong people, okay? The social conscience that you speak about does not exist amongst white quarterbacks in the NFL. And I don't care whether it's Tom Brady, Matt Ryan, you can move on down the list, even
Yeah.
They're not going to spend time in these neighborhoods. So when we think about asking someone to have a social conscience, that's like asking the president to be fair and stop bashing people.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking at. So, I mean, to go out and say, okay, guys, we want you to understand what the inner city life is about other than what you're seeing on the news, they're not going to go in there and spend the time to figure that out. Tom Brady's not going to be the spokesperson for, social justice in America. He's not going to do that. His lifestyle is not conducive to that. Whether when he was a child growing up, to even as a professional athlete, his neighborhood is not the one the average American is going to live in or even pass by, in places like that. So he's not in touch with that. Just like the president is not in touch with society. When you have a class of billionaires, multi-millionaires, they don't understand what the mainstream goes through.
Yeah.
They hear about them on the news, but they can never feel that social injustice or that lack of, interaction in society that these people go through.
Yeah.
They don't know what it's like to be left out, Charlton, because they never crossed that line. So to ask everybody to be socially conscious in America, what's wrong with our political leaders? I mean, those are the ones who need the most socially conscious.
Yeah.
We always call on athletes to be the role model, to be the leaders, to take it to the forefront. But yet we elect public officials to do that for us.
Yeah.
And if these elected officials that we elect to do this for us, if they don't do it, how can we expect one individual athlete when they don't have constituents like these elected officials? Look at the team owners. They have a greater impact than any athlete can have. They have more money. They can reach more people. They have more resources.
Yeah.
They have more contacts in the social and political fabric of any city. But they don't make it a point to go out and do it, Charlton. So, I look at the stance on Tom Brady. It's a valid one, but it's also an invalid one because when we look around the league at the African-American quarterbacks, how many of them are in the front of doing this? I mean, it's hard to put it on any athlete in any sport. We can always talk about LeBron, we can talk about Wade and people standing on the stage at the athletes, yet they do things, Charles.
Yeah,
They're not asking to be patted on the back. The president, whenever he decides to whip his pen around, I want you to pat me on my back. But, we also have a consciousness of neighborhood, of family.
Yeah.
That has to be in the forefront, other than asking some outsider to come in and speak on our behalf. We have to speak for ourselves.
Yeah.
It's like kids. You got to crawl before you can walk. You got to walk before you can run. You have to stand up for yourself as a person and as a community to ask other people before you can ask other people to help you. You got to create some self-pride before you want someone to come in and follow.
Yeah, and do it for you. And that's true. And I want to say that this segment is sponsored by the California Lottery. What can a buck do for you, Big C? I keep saying we won that thing. I'm starting to feel like I'm Kellyanne Conway. I keep lying. It's like I'm telling alternative facts, but I like Kellyanne Conway. If you just keep telling people the same thing over and over and over again ad nauseum, maybe they'll start to believe it. So maybe we have won the lotto, Big C. It's just a matter of time. I think we got to celebrate the same way the guys celebrate before they came onto the field. Remember, they were running around, jumping up and down. Maybe that's what we should do, Big C. Let's just stand around and jump up and down every now and then, Big C. Your thoughts? Yeah. Making it rain. Now I know what it means. Okay. No, but that's a very valid point you gave too, and I just think that they talked about the ratings, and I listened to all the TV pundits this morning. I saw Chris Carter. He was.
You talk about the ratings and Chris Carter and all those people. You talked about Tom Brady and him having a stance at the game. But there was two guys that had a stance throughout the entire game. That was Joe Buck and Troy Aikman.
Yeah.
At no point did they laminate on what Troy Aikman was a former quarterback.
Yeah.
Joe Buck grew up in the broadcast booth with his dad.
Yeah.
Jack. I mean, so from a child, he's been around athletes, African American, white athletes, South American athletes. He's been around all of them. He's not making a social stand. So ask Brady, who only has a couple minutes to rejoice about his victory, versus two gentlemen who have 3.5 to 4 hours to communicate to America, on a weekly basis about what's there, and have seen all sides of the social issue because they're broadcasters, Jonathan, and one's been an athlete, and he's played at different universities as well as the pros.
Yeah.
So if these guys don't do it, how can we expect an athlete who only has 2 to 3 minutes behind the mic versus the guy who has 4 hours behind the mic to make a stance, and the guy who has control not do it.
Yeah, that's a very good point, Big C. You know, I've never had a lot of respect for Trey Aikman when it comes to being socially aware. He's a good quarterback, and then Buck, he's good at what he does. But I think a lot of people, they have a pushback because of the nepotism with his dad. But he actually does a decent job. But at least Fox Sports, I do want to pay credit to Fox Sports because here's a broadcast company that they're owned by the same company, I think, Century 21 Fox, that also has Fox News. And you know, Fox News is just a really horrible news program, but at least they took the time, about a good 7 to 10 minutes, to honor 75% of the league when they honored the Hall of Fame African Americans. And ironically, something you predicted too, when you talked about the game and who would win, you said that you really didn't know who was going to win, but you wanted to see an African American, you know, catching the winning touchdown. Now, was that game live or remember? How did you know, Big C? How did you know, Big C? Come on, man. You wanted to see an African American scoring the winning touchdown, and New England only has like 2 wide receivers that are black, and one of the guys was a running back. They caught it. What's up with that?
When you're looking at how this game played out, I mean, it was a back and forth battle. I mean, it was a tale of two tapes.
Yeah.
You know, Atlanta won the first half, and then all of a sudden they went to sleep. You know, but you know, this is a scenario that Dan Quinn has been in before.
Yeah.
You know, when you look at it, you know, when he was in Seattle.
Yeah.
You know, they had a team that moved up and down the field, scored the ball, and then all of a sudden you get an offensive coordinator making a call that's almost like a cocky call.
Yeah.
And you know, when he was with Seattle, Butler picked off the pass and preserved the victory for New England.
Yeah.
And here's the same scenario when, you know, you're calling pass plays and you're dominating the game running. You know, New England wanted it more.
Yeah.
And that was the difference with White getting out on the edge, Charlton, scoring that touchdown.
Yeah.
For New England. You know, they wanted it more. You could see the desire in Atlanta. And, you know, when you look at, I mean, that's a foul.
I was about to call 911, Big C. I thought you were choking, Big C. You okay? That's funny, Big C. Yeah. Yeah. That's funny.
They obviously did.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about Charlton prior to the game, that for Atlanta to win the game,
yeah,
that Freeman and Coleman needed to touch the ball at least 27 times.
Yeah.
In that game.
Yeah.
And you look at how those two backs dominated the first half.
Yeah.
In the first half, Charlton, between those two backs, they had 18 touches.
Yeah.
Between those two backs in the first half, 18. Well on their way to 27. Ironically, Charlton, something happened in the second half. They only touched it 4 times. Left them at 22, 5 short.
Yeah.
Think about it. If they had touched it 5 more times when they were in field goal range,
yeah,
getting sacked and holding penalties, they would have won the game. You know, the egotistical of a quarterback that you've already won the league MVP.
Yeah.
So let me win the Super Bowl MVP.
Yeah.
Okay? Let me put the icing on top of the cake that already is. And so instead of going with the hand that has brought you there,
yeah,
your ego gets in the place. And this has been the history of Matt Ryan. This is not just that game. This has been Matt Ryan throughout his career. You go back a couple of years ago, Charlton, when he played San Francisco in the NFC Championship game.
Yeah.
The same situation arose where they had the game and all of a sudden San Francisco came behind. It was Colin Kaepernick at quarterback. You know, doing the same thing that Tom Brady did last night against that defense. So, you know, and Matt Ryan couldn't get it done. After he had gotten stopped, he just could not get it done. He's not that point of a quarterback. Yes, he can throw the ball.
Yeah.
But you got to be more than just a thrower. Look at Drew Brees. He throws the ball as well as anybody else. He hasn't been back to the Super Bowl in 7 years.
Wow.
So, you know, we got to do a little more than just throwing the ball. And, you know, they'll talk about, you know, this was a miraculous win.
Yeah.
But by the New England Patriots, this game for the Patriots was history either way, John.
Yeah.
They were either going to get their 5th win or they were going to tie Jim Kelly and the Buffalo Bills for their 4th loss, you know, with this group, you know, with Brady. So that's how you had to look at it. But, you know, Atlanta just
Hey, let me know if I need to call 911. Just standing by, okay, see?
Well, I think that's what Atlanta needed to do. They needed to call 911 because this was a total meltdown. Tom Brady played with poise,
yeah,
confidence. They were all over him in the first half. They knocked him down. They picked 6 on him, everything else.
Yeah.
But he went undaunted in the second have, John. He just came out and was Tom Brady.
Yeah.
That's all he was. He was Tom Brady. I mean, he's seen everything that you can see as a quarterback in the NFL throughout his history.
Yeah.
And this was his best Super Bowl performance ever. But still, once again, he didn't score a game-winning touchdown as he's been throughout his history.
Yeah, and
he won a couple Super Bowls with a kick. You think about it, there are 5 Super Bowl victories, Charles.
Yeah,
5.
yeah.
Okay? 5 Super Bowl victories by a total of 19 points.
Wow.
That's not blowing anybody out.
No.
5 Super Bowl victories by a total of 19 points. And on top of that, this is the 37th World Championship for the city of Boston and New England. When you combine baseball, basketball, hockey, and football, the 37th championship for the great New England-based area, Charlton.
Well, when you bring that up, we talk about, Deion Sanders kind of asked a stupid question last night. So, Tom, are you going to retire? What the hell am I going to retire for? I'm king of the world. Why would you ask a guy going to retire? He just set the record for Super Bowl wins, and he just set the record for attempts and completions and yards, and you're going to say, hey, are you going to retire? Retire for what? Why would he retire, Big C? Does that make any sense?
Tom Brady, Charlton, will play a minimum of another 3 years in the NFL. You got to understand, the system that he plays in doesn't demand a lot from him. It demands a lot from the players around him. And they have such a great personnel department in New England. When you think about it, just 2 years ago when they won the Super Bowl, only 21 people were left on this team from that team, Charlton.
Wow.
This is not a team that gets an organization that gets complacent. To say, hey, just because you're here don't mean that you're going to be here. But only 21 players got a chance to repeat from the last Super Bowl. So this is a team that makes it very, understood to the players that, hey, if you're not producing, you're moving.
Yeah.
You're not just going to hang around here. You got to go because there's somebody sitting outside the parking lot that will do more than you for less. So you got to decide if you really want to be here. And that's part of the success of this organization. The media got on Bill Belichick because in the press conference, he said, look, I'm 5 weeks behind in our scouting and preparation.
Yeah.
But you got to look at it, Charlton. He's been here before, okay?
He's a workaholic too, Big Z.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to sit around and gloat. When you think about the number of Super Bowls that Bill Belichick has been to, as a coach, this was his 9th Super Bowl he's been to as a coach. So this is not a new day for him. His job is being a coach and CEO of the football operations of that program. That's what his job is.
Yeah.
Players will come and go, and so he's looking for the next set of players that he has to fit within that organization.
Yeah.
That's all he thinks about. He's not going to a party. This man's, 69 years old now, Jonathan?
Yeah.
He can care less about the media. The media wants you to act a certain way. But that's not him. He is grizzly as he always going to be. If you look at Boston history, Jonathan, he'll remind a lot of people of Red Auerbach.
Oh, yeah.
When he was coaching the Celtics. He knew he should win. And he was, grizzly with the media. He was short. He didn't give them the interviews that they wanted to give. And they all stayed upset with it. And that's how Bill Belichick is. But it's giving him longevity, Charlton, and success.
Well, I tell you what, Big C, with that longevity and success, I want to say this segment is sponsored by United Labor Guaranteed Life Insurance up to $100,000. We are also endorsed by the American Heart Association and the American Cancer Society. We work with all of the unions in the United States under the AFL-CIO, and we're looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers because we simply want to put people back to work. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network at Yes Charlton, and we're on every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide on the iHeart Radio Network. Big C, Belichick, he has no equal in the NFL. He's going to start chasing Bill Russell, where he's going to have to get rings made for his toes if he doesn't slow down with the Super Bowls. Big C, your thoughts?
Well, he actually has 7 rings when you think about it, Charlton. 7 rings, 2 from the Giants, 5 from the Patriots.
And that's not including his wedding ring. He really has 8, Big C, if you include that wedding ring too.
Well, he has 6 championships on his side. I love the man as far as what he does. Charlton.
Yeah.
He's really a player coach that people don't understand.
Yeah.
He demands from his players perfection because he demands that from himself.
Yeah.
Well, when you look around the NFL, Charlton, and you look at the number of Super Bowls that they've been to, more than the majority of the NFL all combined.
Yeah.
championship caliber coach.
Yeah.
And a guy who runs an organization the way it should be run. I mean, I look at all these coaches around who smile at press conferences, laugh, who want to be joking.
Yeah.
But they're always packing a suitcase. Okay?
Yeah.
Because they got to move.
Well,
that house they in is not going to be a house they in 3 years from now.
Well,
Bill Belichick is a stone wall.
Yeah.
Like his house is built out of stone.
Well, he like the wall of China, Big C. I don't think he's going anywhere. You know, it's funny how you look at coaches, and he just gave away a secret last night. Maybe he didn't mean to, but they were asking him what's his plans, and he said, well, we're a week behind. You're like, how are you a week behind? You just played the Super Bowl 1 hour ago. And a lot of coaches, they want to go on vacation and go over to Europe and Hawaii for a month. And Bill's saying, no, we got to get back to work. It's like, that's why he's successful. So for anybody in any field of endeavor, I don't care if you like the Patriots or not, I think they're excellent. Political aside, you know, nobody's perfect. But he just gave every person that loves sports the roadmap to what makes him tick. He doesn't get to the Super Bowl because he wants to. He gets there because he works all the time. Because he focuses on what to do all the time, Big C. That's the secret he gave away, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, if you look at what happened with the Patriots a couple years ago, they had this thing called the Flakegate, okay?
Yeah.
Now, they had two teams out there playing with the same football. Look
Yeah.
at the direction these two organizations have gone in.
Yeah.
Since that time, Charles, the Flakegate, you know, they went after this one organization tooth and nail.
Yeah.
This organization only got better, Charles, because they concentrated on what the task was at hand. That was football.
Yeah.
That other organization overpaid a quarterback.
Yeah.
Okay? And they've gone downhill and gotten rid of their GM. But everybody in New England is intact because they do it right. They don't worry about the police coming out there, you know, trying to raid what they're doing, trying to play bully on the organization. They still go out and be productive. That's what they do. They leave all other stuff on the side. You know, you suspend Tom Brady for 4 games.
Yeah.
What you do, you piss him off. That's all you did.
Yeah.
You pissed off the rest of the team.
Yeah.
What they do, they went out and dominated the NFL. That's all they did because you made them mad. So why don't you leave that nest of hornets alone? You know, Roger Goodell, you know, I really think, Charles, that they suspended Tom Brady because they could never get after Belichick.
Yeah.
When you look at it. Belichick was responsible for Spygate, okay?
Yeah.
Mangini told on him.
Yeah.
His former assistant coach. Said what he was doing, okay?
Yeah.
You think Belichick might have been naive in the Flakegate? No, the head coach is aware of every action within his organization.
Yeah.
So, you know, he was culpable. But they could not do anything to him because all he could say, hey, I'm the head coach, I never touch equipment.
Yeah.
That's all he had to say. He didn't say, we don't use a cell phone to up in Texas to somebody else. So all he could do was go after Brady.
Yeah.
They said, well, he had to know because he was throwing the football.
Yeah.
So that's all that was. That witch hunt for Brady was a witch hunt for Belichick. They figured they would make Belichick suffer.
Yeah.
All Belichick did was went out and developed 2 young quarterbacks.
Well, Big. Yeah.
And Garoppolo and Brissett. So all he did was make his team stronger.
And who is that great actor? I think he's a Latin actor by the name of Ricardo Montalban. I believe he played Khan in one of the Star Trek movies, and he's.
He also played Mr. Rourke in Fantasy Island.
Yeah, and he had a scene in a movie in Star Trek, and he says, "Revenge is a dish best served cold." And when you saw how Tom Brady walked away from, I mean, he shook his hand, he shook Goodell's hand. Could you imagine the guy that tried to just defame his whole career? And maybe he knew something that we don't know, so maybe Goodell was just doing his part. But the guy was trying to defame his career, and Brady shook his hand but then walked away. If he were Cam Newton, they would have blasted him, but, you know, that's something he got away with doing. But I just think this thing about the Brady and the Belichick, for any organization looking at how to win, you know, you got to look at these guys. Tom Brady, number one, he's a California kid out of San Mateo, California, went to Sarah High School, and then he went to the University of Michigan. In high school, his sister was actually a better athlete, a highly acclaimed athlete. You look at Joe Montana that played in San Francisco and, you know, on the peninsula and lived over there on the peninsula as well, out of California. You also look at Steph Curry, who plays in the Bay Area, over there in Oakland, lives over in the East Bay. Some of the top athletes, you look at Barry Bonds, who also lived over there in San Francisco on the peninsula. Some of the best athletes in the history of sports. Look at the ownership, the DeBartolos. Look at Al Davis. Look at how much talent has come out of Northern California in the Bay Area. Aaron Rodgers played football at Cal Berkeley. Some of the top athletes in the world. Tiger Woods, he played golf, but he went to Stafford. Something about the West Coast athletes, Big C. Can I claim that now, Big C? Is that something we can claim to? Your thoughts?
When you think about the number of West Coast athletes that's been very prevalent in mean, you look at John Elway,
Yeah.
who's been successful, Jeff Plunkett, who's been successful. You spoke of Aaron Rodgers, and many more, Charles, that have come out of the West Coast in various positions.
Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, look at that. Look at
Marcus Allen.
Marcus Allen.
Players that have had great success in Super Bowls past, that have grown up there on the West Coast, and they've become icons in American sports lore.
Yeah.
But there's something about the water, maybe of the Pacific Ocean.
It's called desalination, Big C. Desalination is what we use, the Big C.
But we have to look at this game that we just had, Charles, and you think about how effective this New England organization was coming back. People were turning dials when it was 14-0 to the 8. That's the game, especially when it got to be 21-0.
Yeah, who's that actor that walked out of the stadium? Is this Mark? What's his name? He's an actor, plays a lot.
Wahlberg.
Yeah, Wahlberg walked away, said his son was sick. His son didn't look sick walking out of the game. I think he's just one of them good old boys. I wonder how they're going to treat him at the parade in Boston, Big C. You think they're going to shake his hand?
How that game was structured in the first half with Atlanta taking that lead. They really didn't dominate the game. They didn't do a lot of big things.
No.
They had a couple big plays that allowed them to get the score. They had the pick six that took it to 21. But, they had the long touchdown to the tight end that gave the first score. And their second score came off of a turnover. So when you look at them offensively, they really didn't do anything offensively to New England's defense. New England's defense went into that game, Charles, only giving up 15.8 points a game.
Yeah.
Okay? What did they give up to the Falcons?
Yeah.
Look at it. They gave up 2 touchdowns. They
Yeah.
gave up the season average on defense to the Falcons.
Yeah.
The Falcons defense scored the other touchdown. So they did what they did. So when people thought that the Falcons were dominating the game,
Yeah.
New England kept them in check. So all Belichick had to do was go into the locker room at halftime, tell the defense, look, you've given up what you're going to give up.
Yeah.
Okay? You've given up your season average. So that's done. You're not giving up anything else. Offense, you need to get your butt straight, all right?
Yeah.
And go out there and play football. That's all he said. That's all he had to say to his team, Charles. And people were trying to figure out, well, how did he motivate his team?
Yeah.
All he had to do was tell them what they did throughout the season.
Yeah.
You have the ability to score on anybody. Defense, you've given up your max total points. Period. All you got to do is now go out and play the way you do.
Yeah.
That's the difference in a winner and loser. And I listen to these sideline reporters. What did you do to motivate your team? No, I told them the truth.
Yeah.
I told them the truth.
Yeah.
And that's all I have to tell them. They go on with it.
Hey, you know one thing about what I like about Belichick too, and you notice his team is very diverse. It's not like Trump's administration, all white and like one black person that's a surgeon. But I just think that whole thing that we just saw, the whole world saw it in football, which is my favorite sport. Football and then basketball, baseball, but football. And look at Belichick. You look at his coaching staff. You look at his players. You look at a black guy throwing a touchdown to a white guy throwing a touchdown to a black guy. I mean, it might be deeper than that because we live in a world that's so fractured right now, Big C. But I just think how great that was. But then I noticed something too on I think it was the NFL Network or maybe it was ESPN. But the great who was that great quarterback? Running back Randy Moss, wide receiver. I'm sorry, Randy Moss played for the Patriots, also played for the Vikings, played for the 49ers. During the interview, it was him and Steve Young and I think Berman. They were all talking to Coach Belichick. And Belichick was addressing Randy Moss as Randy, like they're on a first name basis. Randy was addressing Belichick as coach. He still called him coach, and he wasn't his last coach. That's the respect that men have for him, even when he has to let him go, Big C, because it is a business. He has the respect of his players, Big C. What can the POTUS learn about getting respect from people first, and they'll do everything for you? Your thoughts?
Well, it's a matter of everybody needing something from the other, Charles. It's not a dictatorship. Even though he's in charge, he understands to get the most out of the people that work for him.
Yeah.
Is to be kind to them and deal with them as people.
Yeah.
And that's what Belichick has done. When you look at the amount of players that have been through this organization since he's been the head coach there, Charles, in the past 18 years, I mean, it's an undaunted amount of players that have run. I would say the amount of players he's run through has been equal to what Cleveland has run through, Charles.
Yeah.
But there's a different level of success. Now, he started out as a head coach in Cleveland.
Yeah.
He didn't have any success when he was there. He left the Giants with there early in that organization, after they came back to life you know, after getting to New England and reassessing how he had did things in Cleveland, that's when things changed, Sean. He knew that he needed a nucleus, and that nucleus was the quarterback. Around him, you build all the other pieces, and that's what he has done. When you look at the number of running backs that he has had since he's been going to the Super Bowls, the 7 Super Bowls that he has gone to in New England, he's had new running backs every Super Bowl, Jonathan. He's had new receivers every Super Bowl. So, you know, he's not staying pat. Not talking about the Patriots. He's not staying pat. He is going out and being that hungry, aggressive player that fits with what he's doing this year, right now. Not what he did 2 years ago. You look at a lot of teams in the NFL, Jonathan, they hold on to players too long. And you know, because of their history. You know, you hold on to the, you know, you think about that great dynasty in San Francisco when they started culling players out of there. And, you know, when they let Montana go, they said, what, Joe still got something left. But it's not what he has less left than what he had before he got here, okay? So, you know, it's time to let him move on. When Jerry Rice was released, people were like, how can you get rid of the greatest receiver all time in football? Because he's no longer the greatest receiver all time in football. That's it, man. And then let's start Terrell Owens. And to think about Terrell Owens, Johnson, you know, how can he get overlooked again by the Hall of Fame?
Because it's a joke sometimes, Big C. That's personal thing. That's a personal thing.
But damn the media, you know, that personal crap should not play.
I know.
Take away those guys' votes that do not vote, you know, Terrell Owens. Think about it. Terrell Davis got in, okay? Terrell Davis, I think, played 3 games in the NFL when you look at it.
Right.
You know, 3 games. I mean, he's only like the 40th all-time leading rusher in the NFL, Jonathan. The 40th. Terrell Davis is the number 3 all-time leading receiver in the NFL. He didn't get in last year because of Marvin Harrison at championship race. Understandable. But to have the number 3 all-time leading receiver in the NFL, because when you talk about receivers, you go Jerry Rice, you go Randy Moss, you go Terrell Owens, and Randy's going to get in next year on this first down.
He should.
Because he was there. But when he gets in, Terrell may not get in. But, you know, how can you do this? You know, this happened years ago to Art Monk when he was with the Washington Redskins because he would not talk to the media. He was just that great a receiver. When he retired from the NFL, he was number 1 all time. Took him 19 years to get into the Hall of Fame because he would not talk to the media. The media should not be so selfish to rob the fans and these players of their lineage, Sean, and what they have rightfully earned. You know, because of your selfishness. It's like the thing with Pete Rose and it's like the thing with Barry Bonds. No one cares about the people in the media. They didn't come to a game to watch the people in the media. They came to the game to watch these performers. Terrell Owens, if you ever doubt that he was a team player, go back to the Jacksonville Super Bowl against the Philadelphia Eagles and the New England Patriots, okay? This man had ankle surgery, broken ankle. Came out there and played, I believe it was like 4 or 5 weeks after the surgery. Went out there and had an all-star performance in the Super Bowl. So anybody said he wasn't a team player, they're the biggest lies ever in the history of broadcasting and talking about sports, show.
Well, Big C, it's funny how you mentioned, I think he's one of the few receivers that had over 1,000 yards receiving on 3 different teams with the 49ers, the Cowboys, and the Eagles. And because of his mouth, that's why people didn't like him, because they don't want to see black men having a lot of confidence at times.
Because of his mouth.
Yeah.
You know, your mouth does not stop you from being good. Your mouth does not stop you from performing. It's like all the people who hate the New England Patriots, Jonathan.
Yeah.
All the people. You know, 70% of America dislikes the New England Patriots. Hell, if you don't like them as an opponent, beat them.
Beat them.
That's all you got to do is beat them. You know, let them go 6-10 on the season. Then you don't have to worry about seeing them in the playoffs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They're not going to do that because they are better than you.
Yeah.
They're better mentally and they're better physically than 90% of the teams that they play against, Charlotte. They lose occasionally, but they find a way to rectify that and come back and kick your butt the next time.
That's funny, Big C. I want to say this segment is sponsored by One Life America Life Insurance, with the leaders in the country when it comes to final expense. We're also looking to hire over 1,000 licensed insurance brokers. Tweet out to Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network at Yes Charlton. Also, I want to tell you that we're offering athletic insurance for any professional league or college or high school or even mom and pop soccer. Contact Big C Sports at Twitter actually Yes Charlton on Twitter, and we can help get you covered. And I want to just say, Big C, that sometimes everybody wants you to be the great guy. Everyone wants you to be, the perfect image. And Tom Brady didn't do it great. I mean, most great people, they don't have a smooth background anyway, if we're honest about it. You have whether Michael Jordan had his issues with the reason he retired for, half a year, Big C, or a year and a half, well, whatever you believe he retired. Okay, right, he retired. But everybody has an issue, and really, people in the know, they know what happened there. Also, you look at guys like Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens and Pete Rose. They were great. Hank, Mark McGuire, Jose Canseco, where there's Mike Tyson. Any of these great athletes, they know there's something about them. They're not these little choir boys, Big C. They're driven to succeed. And I just want to take this one time, because we talked about it with Lady Gaga opening up the Super Bowl, saying that all people deserve liberty and justice and equality. I want to just get back to this thing on Colin Kaepernick, how he was just, lambasted for over a year about his stance. Well, I want to say, because of his stance, Big C, the San Francisco 49ers, they're one of the two teams that made a contribution to Bay Area organizations focused on improving racial and economic equality, and the Silicon Valley company gave over $500,000 to help with equality for kids of color and white kids. Also in Milwaukee, which I believe is one of the most segregated cities in the United States, and the poverty rate is among the worst in the country. In their Wisconsin, with the home of the Green Bay Packers. Well, they have a program called Urban Underground. This has all started since the great Colin Kaepernick spoke up. Urban Underground, 98% of the high schools developed, they either got an education or the GED, or a diploma or GED, and 85% enrolled in the program called Urban Underground have either 2 or 4-year college that they're participating in now. That was all started because Colin Kaepernick, who was chastised by the media, most of them white, and if he had been saying beat the hell out of people and we'll pay your legal costs like Donald Trump was saying, he would have deserved that hatred. But with all that hatred, here's a man that's helping kids go to college because he spoke to a consciousness that Tom Brady just won't do, that opened up the eyes for corporations. And most people, they need to be told what to do. They don't know how to get what they want. You got to tell them. And so I congratulate Colin Kaepernick and also the 49ers for doing things to help people in need. I just hope that Tom Brady, at this speech they're going to have in Boston tomorrow for the parade, don't just make it about the guys with money. Make it about the poor kids in Boston. Make it about the kids who are disenfranchised that can't afford a ticket at Foxborough Stadium. Make it about, what's it called, Gillette Stadium, Foxborough. Make it about some of the disenfranchised white kids that just need someone to give a helping hand. Don't make it about hate. If you can't stand up to Donald Trump and say bigotry is not acceptable, wouldn't it make sense to at least encourage the communities in Boston, Big C, and around the world to start putting some type of investment in the poor and minority neighborhoods, Big C? Colin Kaepernick's done that. Will Tom Brady have even 10% of his effort? Your thoughts, Big C?
Well, like I said, Charles, it's very difficult to take an athlete who's never dealt in that racial divide as far as being on the backside of it, okay?
Yeah, but Bill Russell's been in Boston, Big C. He has that consciousness.
Yeah, but Bill Russell grew up in San Francisco also, Charles. He grew up in high in San Francisco. So where he grew up in segregation. And he still had segregation when he was in Boston, Charles. Racism was still very big in Boston when you look at Casey Jones and the guys that were there.
Dennis Johnson.
Boston,
yeah.
At the time when Bill Russell was there. We're talking about early 60s, Charles, where we still did not have desegregation. There were places that these great Boston Celtics players could not eat, could not stay, could not live. That they were the background and the backbone of this franchise. And they had to live in a segregated society. That's the reason why he does not live in Boston today, a place where he gained all of his fame. He's still up in the Seattle area, Jonathan, where he lives, because he was more accepted in the Northwest than he was in the Northeast. So, when we look at white athletes, Jonathan, and ask them to have a social conscience, you're really asking a lot of America. You're asking America to have a social conscience if you're asking a white athlete to have a social conscience. And that's how deep that is. They're not individuals that don't want to be ostracized from their own communities and society. So it becomes very difficult for them to stand out because they've gotten that prestige of being who they are. Will Madison Avenue turn on them if they become that individual, Jonathan, that you're asking to be that spokesperson for libertarians in America? And so they're not willing to take that challenge without having an answer. And everybody will tell us that's too out of a subject.
equality. It's in our liberty and justice for all is too hot of a subject, Big C. I disagree with that, Big C.
Charlton, okay. What did you used to sing when you were a kid in school? Like, there was a song that was omitted from schools at the beginning of class.
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag.
Yeah.
To the United States of America. You know, this is what we did. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all, okay?
Yeah.
We don't have that, okay? So they took that out of the schools because they knew that they were lying to little kids so that there was liberty and justice for all.
Yeah.
One nation. We don't have that. So you took it out of school, so you want to stop lying to the kids saying, this is what you should expect.
Yeah.
That's how far America has detracted, Charlton. When that was the outlook, when I was growing up, we said that at the beginning of every class. You know, I pledge allegiance to the flag. You know, and that's not what America's about now.
Yeah.
America's not pledging allegiance to the flag. They're pledging allegiance to their social group.
Yeah.
That's what America is now. They can say that I pledge allegiance to my social group or social status.
Yeah.
That's what America's become.
Well, I think and that's a good point, Big C. I reminded myself of, because I'm not a sycophant, great Super Bowl. I appreciate it. I love the game. But also, I think there was an interviewer that was talking to POTUS, and he was talking about Vladimir Putin and why he's so easy on Putin, who is a murderer, who murders people. And everybody knows that worldwide. And he said, well, America's just as bad as Putin. And I'm saying, what in the hell? I mean, we don't have that kind of country. We've always gone to war for peace, Big C, and for help against oppression. Yeah, I know dropping 2 nuclear weapons, that was horrible, but that was a military thing against the company that we were at war with that attacked us first, Big C. But I do want to say this too, that everybody has a right to say what's right or wrong. And it's just great to see someone in the media finally challenged Donald Trump about how do you say America's just as bad as Putin? And John McCain, who should be the Republican leader, it's a shame they just put him on the railroad tracks for some reason or in a ditch someplace, because they're destroying that party in political or politics. They even had Donald Trump talk about his opinion of the Super Bowl. He really didn't understand it because there was so much diversity on the field, Big C. He didn't understand which game to watch, Big C. But I just thought it's great to see a reporter stand up to Donald Trump. We are not as bad as Putin. And again, we know that he owns 19% in the Russian bank, and that should come out. But something about America and sports, if we don't have real sports talk like what we do, then we'll just be sitting around kissing somebody's butt because he threw a football, Big C. Your thoughts again, Big C, on that?
Well, you know, you look at that scenario with Bill O'Reilly on Fox. He really wasn't that hard on Trump. He let him off quite easily. And for Trump to, to take American reporters and say they're just as bad as, Russian reporters, well, Putin has been known and has documentation of having Russian reporters killed. I don't know of any president that has done that here in the U.S. So, to say that we're equal to Russia as far as criminality, that's Donald Trump. He is telling you where he is as far as Putin. That he has the same mindset that a Putin, to call the press the enemy in this country. The press is there to facilitate for the masses, Jonathan. That's what the press is all about. And since the press is not doing what he wants them to do verbally, then he's going to call them the fake media, the fake news, that they're lying. And yet every other word out of his mouth is lie. I think when he said hi, he was
that's funny, Big Z. Well, at least we know Lady Gaga stood up for all people. I just think it's important. Also doing in the national anthem, they said something about men, and those 3 beautiful ladies that were singing, they talked about and crowned that good with brotherhood, and they also made a adjustment of it by saying in womanhood, and they got a standing ovation. So that was pretty sweet, Big C. As we touched on our last segment, I just want to say, if you're looking at getting into business, we can help you get business credit. Just follow Big C Sports on Twitter and also on the iHeart Radio Network. If you want to get started in business, you need business credit, not your credit cards. I just want to take about 1 minute to acknowledge one of the longest high school streaks in California came to an end with Chino Hills, California. They lost 96-91 to Oak Hill Academy out of Malta, Wilson, Virginia, and that stopped their winning streak at 63 games, Big C. I believe it was 60 games. So how a team for Virginia played a team from California in basketball. I don't know how long it took them to take the bus over here, Big C, but they play those games nationwide now, Big C. And also tonight in Sacramento at the Golden One Center, you have the Chicago Bulls. They're playing the Sacramento Kings. that got lucky and knocked off the Golden State Warriors in overtime just last Friday here in Sacramento. So good luck to the Kings. They're playing better basketball. I still say the Kings will be a number 8 seed. But Big C, as we close out our Super Bowl special, I know we've seen some great games over the years, some great performances, and we talked about the great Tom Brady. And Matt Ryan, did he choke? I don't know. I think the offensive coordinator that's going to be coaching the 49ers, that gives you 4 running plays after you're up 28-3. Like you were saying earlier, if you just run the ball even 5 times a quarter, that's going to be 20 carries. But to run it just 4 times after you have a 28-3 lead, and I'm just impressed with something that you've always said. I heard Amendola talk about it. He said, you got to believe, you got to believe, you got to believe. And it's that belief and that Jedi mindset that Belichick has that helped them win. Your thoughts on belief and how these great athletes tend to overcome, especially when they're up against the wall. They have no choice but to believe. And the Patriots got it done again, Big C. Your thoughts?
Well, Charles, we give quarterbacks all the plays when they make an adjustment at the line of scrimmage and check off of plays on another play. So don't put all that blame on Shanahan. Yeah, this guy who's the MVP of the league who's supposed to understand what an opposing defense is doing. If you got a scenario where you're running the ball, check down out of that pass, all you got to do is stay in field goal range. You're supposed to be that intelligent.
Yeah.
As the league MVP, do not get yourself out of field goal range. And when you take a cheap sack by a guy that comes inside that you can't avoid, and you lose 12 yards, next play you're going to hold it, Billy. So as a quarterback...
Hey, Big C, I got a joke. Can I just tell a joke real quick? I think the player that sacked him was out of the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. Just a thought, Big C. Go ahead. Okay. These are the things you look at in a game. How do you blast the coach when the players are the ones on the field? Yeah. We give all the players in the world to Belichick, but he hasn't made one play out there. Yeah. He's putting the players in a position to make the plays. He's not even the offensive coordinator. He's the back coach on the team. So when you see Julio Jones with only 4 receptions, you give that to Bill Belichick. Oh my God. Yeah, and we were saying, Big C, if Julio can touch the ball 15 times in this game, all you're talking is 3 times a quarter. Okay, 15 times in this game, and he didn't even get that. Even if he just went 4 times a quarter, even if it's a handoff, look at what he did, the dominance he displayed with just touching the ball. Was it 4 times in the game, Big C? 4 times? Yeah, 4 times. That's what a great tactician would do defensively. You know how to eliminate that player out of the scheme. You run him into areas where he's not open. And when you look at the catches he made, Charles, all those are in tight windows. Yeah. Those are miraculous catches. It wasn't that he was running free catching the ball. He had no back. You think about what he had in the previous 2 games? Yeah. He had Zach, Charles. He had no Zach in the Super Bowl. He had no yards after the catch in the Super Bowl. And that's the mark of a great defense, is that you will not let a receiver run after he's caught the ball. So don't think that Belichick can't coach defense. I mean, he's a guru at it, John. Yeah. And he's proven that he shut down every receiver he's played other than the guys for the Giants in the Super Bowl. But, yeah. He can get the job done, and that's what happened. So don't blame, the offensive coordinator in Shanahan for just play calling. Yeah. You got to blame Matt Ryan because he has the ability, when we walk up to the line of scrimmage, when you see a quarterback that's calling off signals as well as off the line, you're checking from something, Jonathan. Yeah. So who knows? He may have checked out of a running play, thinking that he could hit an open receiver. Wow. Players do it all the time, so don't just think that that Shanahan is the only one culpable for what the meltdown was with the Falcons. I look at the quarterback first, Matt Ryan. Yeah. I'll tell you what, Big C, I think I read a stat where 8 of the last 10 league MVPs have lost in the Super Bowl. When they played the Super Bowl as a league MVP, they lost that game. And I don't know what's going on with that, but it was an incredible football game from the standpoint of seeing the team never quit. And also Brady, when he looked a little bit washed up when he threw that pick, that was, I think, returned about 82 yards for a touchdown, and Brady tried to dive to make the tackle, and he landed on his shoulder, and it just looked like he was worn out. But emotionally, that guy put it back together again. They went into the locker room. They were licking their heels. In Atlanta, the Dirty Birds were dancing around like they had already won the game, and they kind of did what the Dallas Cowboys did when they went in to play against the Philadelphia Eagles. They took their foot off the gas. They stopped the momentum. Atlanta played with so much passion. They looked a little bit faster. They were getting to the outside of the perimeter, on the outside of the tackles. In the second half, they just let up. They let their foot off the gas. I think New England ran over 90 plays in that game, so maybe that's part of it, Big C. But momentum is something about momentum. If you lose it, you don't know if you're going to get it back. Now, what you've seen, Big C, and Belichick going back to this drawing board already, saying they're a week behind, I want to get your thoughts as we close out the show. How would you rate this football game, this Super Bowl, with some of the better that you've seen? Would it be the top game? You know, the last time the Patriots came from behind against Seattle, and we also had some games where Montana hit, I think it was Taylor for a touchdown against Cincinnati. Would you rate this the best Super Bowl or probably in the top three, Big C? Your thoughts?
We're talking for far as what it brought as far as electricity in the second half. I got to put this Super Bowl right out there as number one. You know, to have a team put that many unanswered points in a game of this magnitude against the opposing team that's in that same game, Charles, it's just undaunting. So when you talk about some of the spectacular plays, I mean, everybody's talking about the element catch. You know, Tyree's catch was better. Tyree's catch was on third down. This catch was on first down. Even though that eye-hand coordination was second to none, you know, to concentrate on that puts it right there. I mean, it's like A minus. Tyree was an A plus. It's like an A minus. But, you know, most spectacular quick plays that meant something to the team's momentum. But, you know, it kept the team's momentum going, Jonathan, because he made that play. Everybody else on the offense said, hey, if he can do that, I got to do just a little bit more because that's out of the normal. What he just did in that scenario. But when you think about a team that you thought they were gone, and you look at Brady, you said you thought he was washed up after he threw the pick six.
He looked defeated at that time.
Brady's the only player on the field, Charlton, last night that could play any position other than what he's playing. He couldn't play any other position on the football team. He might not could play another sport, Charlton. He's just not athletic. But he's mentally strong. He's mentally athletic. That's what makes him great as a quarterback. Is that you can't challenge him mentally because when you look at some of the play calls that he made last night and some of the throws that he made, Charlton, he was off in the first half. I mean, he was missing receivers and all that. When he came back in the second half, Charlton, you know, you think about the yardage. You had, 66 yards in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, he had 466 for the game, 466 total.
That fourth quarter yardage is a game for a lot of quarterbacks in the playoffs and the Super Bowl and even a regular season game. He did that in one quarter. You know, White with the 14 receptions off of being targeted 16 times. You know, he could have been co-MVPs when you look at the two players, Charlton. But, you know, this is what happened.
When you say what happened, Big C, I think one of the things I want to just get in, I don't mean to cut you off, Big C, but when you say what happened, obviously when you look at the last half of that game, it's a game where we know that both teams were competing, and with the Super Bowl on the line, there's just something about Belichick, and a lot of people say that Belichick has the advantage over everybody he's playing against because, as you mentioned, this is his 7th Super Bowl ring. We know he has one that he had a couple of rings with the Giants when he was their D coordinator, and also he had this run-in when he coached at Cleveland. And I didn't mean to cut you off, but I just wanted to bring up this point with Belichick and all these coaches and everybody they're going to scramble, Big C. They want to see who to draft for the NFL draft coming up and who they're going to trade for. And you mentioned they have like 21 players that were not part of their last Super Bowl team.
They had 21 players that were part of their last
21. Okay, so as we close out the show, Big C, just tell me your thoughts on, number one, we know you think it's one of the best Super Bowls, maybe the best ever, but let me get your thoughts. I know Belichick's the best coach ever, but what does New England need to work on for next year? They're not going to be at the NFL draft and glued to the TVs for 25 hours. They probably need to do something to the offensive line. Brady was sacked 5 times, but what would Belichick be working on in your thoughts, Big C, and we'll close out the show with you.
Well, you know, he was sacked 5 times in the Super Bowl, Charlton, but he was only sacked 4 times during the season. So that's a big difference. You know, this was one game where it was lights out and you play like there's no tomorrow, and that's what Atlanta did. But, you know, everybody needs offensive linemen, Charlton, but what they have to do is find players who fit their organization, whether it's through the draft or free agency. Their offensive line is relatively young, but when you look at it, Nate Solder, the left tackle, is the only guy with more than 3 years experience on their offensive line. So they're still developing. They're work in progress. So, you know, it's hard to find what New England needs, Charlton, when you look at this organization. What do they need? Where do you see the weakness at? They they had some injuries that slowed them down. You got to realize Gronk wasn't there. Malcolm Mitchell missed the first half of the season. He only played the last 7 games for receiver number 19. When you look at Elderman, you look at Amendola, you look at Hogan. Those receivers are not lighting up anybody's radar, Charles.
Yeah.
You know, but they fit in the scheme of what New England did. They rotate 3 running backs.
Yeah.
So you can't really gauge anybody, Charles. This is an organization that's made as an organization, not as a team, as an organization. They have moving parts that are integral, and when they need to change the moving part, Charles, because it's not performing at the level that you think it should be, they do that. And so, you know, it's hard to predict what New England needs. Everybody else has particular needs when they go to the draft. New England takes the best player that fits their needs. Charles.
Yeah.
Not the best player on the board, but the best player that fits their needs. They don't listen to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay.
Yeah, you sure?
Because neither one of those guys would walk into New England. There's nobody on New England's roster, Charles, that they all get to the high draft pick. Nobody. When you think about it, you know, if you think about 3 in the secondary in New England, they came out of Rutgers University, okay?
Yeah.
When was the last time Rutgers won a football game?
Wow, about 2 years ago, I think.
Yeah, so when you think about 3 starters in New England secondary played at Rutgers, and they have nothing as a football program, but they had the talent that fit into New England's scheme.
Yeah.
And you think about great defensive backs that were there that are gone. You think about the league who's in Denver.
Yeah.
You think about Rodney Harrison who's on NBC, and many others, Sean.
Yeah.
Browner was there. He's gone. So, you know, they take the player that they need for that moment. Del Rivers, he's gone. So, you know, they cut an all-pro secondary in the last 3 Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Okay? An all-pro secondary is gone. They used to be there. So, you know, even Asante Samuels, who was a Super Bowl hero.
Yeah.
So they let people go, Charlton. It's about the needs of the team.
Yeah.
And so when you say what New England needs, they need a player who's going to buy into their coaching regimen. That's all they need. They need a player that's going to buy into their scheme, and he'll be successful.
Well, Big C, I hope that for the parade they have tomorrow in Boston, Boston's a great city, and New England's a great region of the country, and they're very educated. If Tom Brady can't give some type of inclusion speech, hopefully he can beat Rodney King when he says, can't we all just get along, the late Rodney King? So I hope that athletes that are put on a pedestal, they'll have a little bit of braving, you know, be a bit brave like Braveheart, Big C. Just say what's right and bring this country together. You've been given by the universe the opportunity to stand on a pedestal and say more than, let's go, let's go. And speaking of, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, follow Charlton and Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio, the #1 sports show in the universe, and also iHeart Radio is the #1 media company in the United States of America. As we say on every program, there's no tolerance for domestic violence. If you ever see a man grabbing a woman or being abusive to that woman or grabbing her by the crotch, just call 911. No woman should have to go through that garbage alone. And as we always say, every Monday through Friday at 5 o'clock p.m. Pacific Standard Time, worldwide, follow Big C Sports on the iHeart Radio Network. And we thank you, we appreciate you, and we hope that you have a super fantastic day.